The notification came at 6:47 a.m. while I was tying my work boots. My phone buzzed twice on the kitchen counter. I picked it up expecting a schedule change or maybe a weather alert. Instead, I got a text from my wife that rewired my entire morning. Plans changed. You're staying home. The kids want their biological father on the Europe trip. Dennis is coming instead. I read it 3 times. Same words each time. No apology, no explanation, just a decision handed down like I was an employee being reassigned. I set the phone on the counter and stared at the coffee maker. The red light blinked steady and patient. My hands were calm. That surprised me. I poured coffee into my thermos and sat down at the kitchen table. The same table where we'd planned this trip 6 months ago. Where I'd circled dates on the calendar and calculated costs. Where I'd signed up for overtime shifts to cover the flights I'd just paid for last week. Flights that apparently didn't include me anymore. The apartment was quiet. Too quiet. She'd left yesterday with Justin and Annabelle, headed to her sister's place before the international departure tomorrow morning. They'd be gone 2 weeks. Touring museums, eating at cafes, taking photos in front of old buildings. I'd been looking forward to it. Not anymore. I opened my phone and looked at our bank accounts. Joint checking showed the Europe fund nearly empty after the ticket purchases. 3 tickets at $1,900 each. My savings account sat there with the emergency money I'd been building for 5 years. Untouched by anyone but me. I opened my email and found the flight confirmations. All 3 tickets purchased on my credit card. My name on the billing. Her name on the passenger list. Her kids on the passenger list. Dennis Olsen on the passenger list now, I assumed. I'd never met Dennis. He'd been gone since before I came into the picture. Reappeared 6 months ago at Justin's high school graduation. All smiles and backslaps like he'd been there the whole time. My wife had called it closure. I called it what it was, too polite to say it out loud. I stood up and walked to the window. The parking lot below was filling up with people heading to work. Normal Tuesday morning. Everyone had somewhere to be. I had a ceramics workshop shift starting in 40 minutes. Industrial tile production, steady pay, nothing glamorous. I'd taken that job 8 years ago when we needed reliable income. When her kids needed school supplies and winter coats and someone to fix the car. I pulled out my laptop and opened my bookmarks. I'd been organized about finances since my father taught me to keep records. Every payment, every receipt, every auto draft. I had a folder labeled household expenses. I opened it. 8 years of documentation. Rent payments, all from my account. Utility bills, my name, my payments. Car insurance for her vehicle, my card. The kids' phone plans, my account. Streaming services, subscription boxes, gym memberships I didn't use. All of it pointing back to the same source. Me. I made a list. Not because I was angry, but because I needed to see it written down. Needed to confirm what I already knew. By the time I finished, I'd counted 42 recurring monthly expenses that I covered alone. 42. My phone buzzed again. Another text from her. Don't be upset. Dennis wants to bond with his kids. You understand. I typed out 5 different responses. Deleted all of them. Finally, I just wrote back. Have a good trip. I didn't add anything else. No questions, no arguments. Just 4 words and a period. Then I called my supervisor and told him I needed the day off. Family emergency. He didn't ask questions. I sat back down at the kitchen table with my laptop and my phone and every document I'd saved over the years. I wasn't going to yell. I wasn't going to beg. I was going to do what I should have done the first time I felt like a wallet with legs. I was going to handle this the way you handle anything that's been built on the wrong foundation. Carefully, methodically, and completely. The coffee in my thermos had gone cold by the time I finished making the first 3 calls. I didn't notice. I had 12 more to make before lunch. The first call was to the credit card company. I explained that I needed to remove an authorized user from my account. The representative asked if there was a problem. No problem, I said. Just simplifying things. She was off the account in 4 minutes. I thanked them and hung up. Second call went to the streaming services. Netflix, Hulu, Disney Plus, Spotify Premium Family Plan. I canceled each one while standing at the kitchen window watching cars pull out of the parking lot. The customer service scripts were all the same. Can we ask why you're canceling today? Just cutting back? I said each time. By call number 5, I'd moved on to the phone plan. 3 lines under my name. Mine, hers, and Annabelle's. The representative explained that I could suspend the other 2 lines instead of canceling if I wanted. No, I said. Cancel them. Just to confirm, sir, this will disconnect service immediately. That's correct. I opened my list again and kept going. Car insurance on her vehicle, the one I'd been paying for since the transmission went out 3 years ago. I called the agent directly. He knew me by name. Hey, I need to remove a vehicle from my policy, I said. Sure thing. Which one? The Mazda. There was a pause. That's your wife's car, right? You sure about this? Positive. All right. I'll process it today. She'll need to get her own coverage if she wants to keep driving it. I understand. He didn't push. We'd known each other since high school. He just said he'd email the confirmation and hung up. I walked to the bedroom and opened the closet. My clothes took up maybe a third of the space. The rest was hers. Dresses she'd bought for dinners I'd paid for. Shoes that cost more than my work boots. I didn't touch any of it. I just stood there looking at how much room I'd given up without noticing. My laptop was still open on the kitchen table when I got back. I pulled up the lease agreement for the apartment. My name, my signature. Hers was nowhere on it. I'd signed this lease 5 years ago when we'd moved in together, back when she'd said her credit wasn't great and asked if I'd mind handling it alone. I'd mind it. I'd just been too stupid to say it out loud. I called Stevens Property Management. The office manager, Faith, answered on the second ring. I need to discuss my lease, I said. Of course. What's going on? I'm planning to vacate early. What's the process? She pulled up my account. You're paid through the end of next month. If you give 30 days notice, we can start showing it. Are you relocating for work? Something like that. I'll email you the notice form. Once you sign, we'll list it immediately. Market's good right now. Shouldn't take long to fill. I thanked her and opened the email before we'd even hung up. Signed it digitally. Sent it back. My phone buzzed. A text from Justin. Dude, my phone just died. What happened? I typed back. Payment plan was under my account. You'll need to set up your own. 3 dots appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, seriously, I replied. Annabelle texted next. Same confusion, same question. I gave her the same answer. Then my wife called. I let it ring 4 times before answering. What are you doing? Her voice was tight, controlled. The tone she used when she was angry, but trying not to show it in public. Adjusting expenses, I said. You canceled the kids' phones? I canceled the lines I was paying for. They're adults. They can handle their own bills. This is ridiculous. We're about to leave the country. Then you should probably sort that out before your flight. Silence on her end. I could hear airport announcements in the background. Gate changes, boarding calls. You're being childish, she finally said. I'm being clear, I replied. You wanted your actual family on this trip. I'm giving you exactly that. That's not what I meant. That's exactly what you meant. She started to say something else, but I hung up. My hands weren't shaking. My voice hadn't raised. I felt calm in a way I hadn't felt in years. I made 3 more calls that afternoon. The gym membership, the meal kit subscription, the car detailing service I'd been paying for monthly, even though I took the bus to work most days. By the time the sun started setting, I'd cut 42 monthly expenses down to 11. Only mine. Only what I actually used. I ordered Chinese takeout from the place down the block and ate it at the kitchen table with my laptop open, going through documents. 8 years of being the foundation everyone stood on while pretending I was part of the structure. Not anymore. My phone stayed quiet the rest of the night. No more texts. No more calls. Good. I had work to do tomorrow. Bigger work. The kind that didn't undo with an apology or a promise to do better. The kind that closed doors instead of leaving them open. The next morning, I called Wagner and Associates. The law firm had been recommended by a co-worker whose brother went through a divorce 2 years back. I didn't need a divorce lawyer yet, but I needed to know where I stood. The receptionist transferred me to Ian Wagner. His voice was steady, no nonsense. What can I do for you? He asked. I explained the situation in under 3 minutes. The text, the trip, the apartment in my name, the bills I'd been covering. Are you married? He asked. Yes. How long? 6 years. Common law before that. Kids. Hers. 2. Both adults now. He was quiet for a moment. I heard papers shuffling. The apartment's in your name only? He asked. Correct. Lease and all utilities. Then you're within your rights to vacate. If you're planning to separate, I'd recommend documentation. Every expense you covered, every payment. You'll want that if this goes to court. Already have it, I said. Good. Call me if she files anything. In the meantime, keep records of all communication. I thanked him and hung up. 20 minutes later, Faith from the property management called back. I've got someone interested already, she said. Young couple relocating for work. They want to see it this afternoon if possible. I'll be here, I said. They showed up at 2. Clean cut, professional, the kind of people who pay rent on time. They walked through the apartment asking practical questions about heating costs and parking. They didn't ask why I was leaving. We'll take it, the husband said before they left. Can we move in on the 1st? That works, Faith confirmed. I signed the paperwork that evening. Lease termination, deposit transfer, forwarding address left blank. The apartment felt different after that. Less like a home, more like a hotel room I'd overstayed in. I started packing that night. I didn't have much. Clothes, work gear, my laptop, some books. Most of the furniture had been here when we moved in, or she'd picked it out. The couch, the dining set, the decorative things that made the place look lived in. None of it was mine. I boxed up my belongings in 4 hours. Everything fit in 8 boxes and 2 duffel bags. While I packed, I thought about the trip they were on. The museums, the restaurants, the hotel rooms I'd helped pay for. I wondered if Dennis was covering anything or if she'd assumed I'd just keep the money flowing even after being uninvited. Probably the latter. My phone buzzed. A text from Annabelle. Mom says you're being unreasonable. Can you just talk to her? I sat on the edge of the bed and typed back. I did talk to her. She made her choice. I'm making mine. You're really going to throw away our family over this? I stared at that word. Family. You threw it away when you picked your biological father over the man who's been here for 8 years, I wrote. I'm just accepting what you already decided. She didn't respond. I kept packing. The next day, I drove to a storage facility on the east side of town. Climate controlled, month to month. I loaded everything in except what I'd need for the next 2 weeks. Clothes, toiletries, my laptop. When I closed the storage unit door, I felt lighter. I stopped at the post office on the way back and filed a forwarding address. Not to another apartment. To a P.O. box 3 towns over in Riverside, a place I'd looked up the night before. Small town, low cost of living, manufacturing jobs available. I'd worked ceramics for 8 years. I could find something similar anywhere. Back at the apartment, I sat at the kitchen table one last time. The same table where I'd planned a trip I'd never take. Where I'd signed up for overtime to cover expenses that were never really ours. I opened my laptop and checked my bank account. My savings had barely been touched. The joint checking was nearly empty, but that didn't matter anymore. I transferred what was left into my personal account and closed the joint one entirely. My phone rang. Her name on the screen. I answered. The bank called me, she said. No hello, no greeting. You closed our account? I closed my account, I corrected. You're welcome to open your own. This is insane. We're married. We were, I said. Past tense. You'll get the papers when you're back. Papers. Divorce papers. Ian Wagner's handling it. Silence. Then her voice came back, different now. Shaky. You're serious. Completely. Where are you going to go? That's not your concern anymore. You can't just leave. I can't, I said. And I am. The apartment's already rented to someone else. You've got 2 weeks to figure out where you're staying when you get back. You're putting me and the kids on the street. I'm releasing you to your actual family, I said. Dennis can help. That's what fathers do. I hung up before she could respond. The apartment was quiet again. I looked around one last time. At the kitchen where I'd made breakfast for people who saw me as a checkbook. At the living room where I'd sat on the couch watching shows I didn't care about because it made them happy. At the bedroom where I'd convinced myself that being used was the same thing as being loved. Tomorrow, I'd turn in my keys. Tonight, I'd sleep better than I had in years. 2 weeks passed in silence. I'd already moved to Riverside by the time their plane landed. Small furnished room above a hardware store, cheap rent. Walking distance to Bishop Manufacturing where I'd lined up a job starting Monday. Same work, different building, better pay. I didn't tell her where I was. I didn't tell anyone. The first sign things were falling apart came through Justin's social media. He posted a photo at the airport with the caption, "Home Sweet Home." I think. 3 confused face emojis. I didn't like it. Didn't comment. Just watched. An hour later, Annabelle posted from the parking lot. Why is there a moving truck at our building? I closed the app and made dinner. Eggs and toast. Cheap, simple mine. My phone stayed quiet until 8:30 that night. Then it exploded. 17 missed calls. 12 text messages. 3 voicemails. I let them pile up while I watched the news on the small TV that came with the room. Local stuff, road work, school board meetings, things that had nothing to do with me. Finally, I checked the messages. The first one was from my wife. Call me now. The second, where are you? The apartment is gone. The third, this isn't funny. Call me back. Justin's message was simpler. What the hell, man? Annabelle sent a paragraph. I didn't read past the first line. I can't believe you do this to us. The voicemails were all the same. Panic, anger, confusion. Her voice getting higher with each one. I deleted them without listening all the way through. At 9:15, she tried calling from a different number. Probably borrowed someone's phone thinking I'd blocked hers. I answered this time. Where are you? She demanded. Somewhere else, I said. The apartment's gone. There are strangers living in it. Our things are everywhere. We can't get in. Your things, I corrected. Mine are already moved. You can't do this. I did do this. Where are we supposed to stay? I took a breath. That's not my problem anymore. You wanted Dennis involved. He's the father. Let him figure it out. He left. I stopped. What? He left. Got back to his hotel 2 days ago and said he had work. Just disappeared. I almost laughed. Almost. So the guy who abandoned his kids once did it again? Shocking. Don't be a jerk. I'm being accurate, I said. You picked him. You wanted the genuine article. Well, you got him. We're at Shirley's right now, she said. Her sister. We can't stay here long. She doesn't have room. Call Dennis. Tell him you need help. His phone goes straight to voicemail. Then I guess you'll need to figure something else out. You're really going to do this? Leave us with nothing. You have exactly what you had before me, I said. Dennis, your choices, and each other. I'm just not funding it anymore. She started crying then. Not the genuine kind. The frustrated kind she used when she wasn't getting her way. Please, she said. Just talk to me. We can fix this. There's nothing to fix. You told me I wasn't part of your actual family. I agreed. That's the end of it. I didn't mean it like that. You meant it exactly like that. I hung up. 5 minutes later, Justin texted, Mom's freaking out. She says you took everything. I replied, I took what was mine. Everything else is still there. The apartment's gone. The apartment was in my name. I'm not paying rent for people who don't want me around. Where are we supposed to live? That's between you, your mom, and your father, the biological one. He didn't text back. Annabelle tried calling an hour later. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. I didn't listen to it. Around midnight, my phone finally went quiet. I sat in the small room with the window open, listening to the sound of the town settling in for the night. Distant traffic, a dog barking somewhere, the hum of the streetlight outside. I thought about them crammed into Shirley's apartment, probably arguing about whose fault it was, probably trying to reach Dennis, getting nothing but voicemail. I thought about the trip they'd just taken, the photos they'd posted, museums and cafes and old buildings I'd helped pay for. I thought about the text that started all of this. The kids want their biological father. They got him, and now they understood exactly what that meant. I turned off my phone, plugged it into charge, and went to bed. Tomorrow I'd start my new job. New town, new routine, new life. No looking back. No exceptions. No regrets. 3 weeks into my new job at Bishop Manufacturing, I got an email from Ian Wagner. Subject line, legal notice received. She'd filed a motion to contest the apartment sale and demanding I cover temporary housing costs. Ian attached the documents and a note. Weak case. She has no legal standing. I'll handle it. I replied with one word. Thanks. The motion got dismissed 2 days later. The judge's ruling was straightforward. The apartment was solely in my name. The lease termination was proper, and I had no obligation to house adult stepchildren or an estranged spouse. Ian forwarded me the decision with another note. She can try again, but she won't win. Keep documenting everything. I saved the email in a folder labeled legal and went back to work. My new routine was simple. Clock in at 6, clock out at 2:30. Stop at the diner down the street for coffee. Walk back to my room. Read, watch TV, sleep. Repeat. Nobody here knew my history. Nobody asked why I'd moved to Riverside or where I'd come from. I was just another guy who showed up, did the work, and kept to himself. It felt good. A month after they'd returned, Justin sent a message through social media. I almost didn't open it. I get why you're mad, it started. But this is affecting all of us. Mom had to get a job at a call center. Annabelle's couch surfing. We had to sell stuff just to cover rent on a cheap place. Dennis won't answer anyone. Can't you just help a little? I read it twice, then closed the app without responding. 2 days later, Annabelle tried a different approach. She sent a friend request on a platform I barely used. I declined it. Then she found my email somehow. I never wanted this to happen, she wrote. I thought having my dad there would be nice. I didn't think you'd actually leave. Can we talk? Please. I stared at the message for a long time. Finally, I typed back. You're 22. Justin's 24. You're both adults. Your mom made a choice. You supported it. Now you're dealing with the outcome. That's not my responsibility anymore. I hit send before I could second guess it. She replied within minutes. So that's it? 8 years and you just walk away. You walked away first, I wrote back. I just made it official. She didn't respond after that. Work kept me busy enough that I didn't check my phone much. The guys at Bishop were decent. Quiet crew, everyone focused on their own tasks. I ate lunch with a few of them sometimes. Talked about sports, weather, nothing personal. One afternoon, a coworker named Randy asked if I was from around here. No, I said. Moved here about a month ago. Family, not anymore. He nodded like he understood and didn't push further. I appreciated that. 6 weeks in, my soon-to-be ex-wife sent a final message. This one was longer, more desperate. She explained how hard things were, how she'd underestimated everything, how Dennis had completely vanished and wouldn't return calls or messages, how Justin was working 2 jobs just to help with rent, how Annabelle had to drop a class because she couldn't afford books. I made a mistake, she wrote. I thought having Dennis there would make the kids happy. I didn't realize what I was giving up. Can we please just talk about this? I miss you. We all do. I saved the message to the legal folder and didn't reply. Ian called a week later. She's trying mediation now, he said. Wants to negotiate a settlement. For what? I asked. Alimony. Temporary support. She's claiming financial hardship. How long were we legally married? 6 years. And I paid for everything the entire time? According to your records, yes. Then what's she entitled to? In this state? Very little. Maybe a small temporary amount. But given the circumstances and the duration, I'd say we can fight it down to nothing. Do that, I said. The mediation lasted 30 minutes. Ian handled it over video call while I was at work. When I got back to my room that evening, he'd sent a summary. She'd asked for $2,000 a month. The mediator offered $500. Ian countered with 0. They settled on nothing. Case closed, his email said. Divorce will be finalized in 60 days. I forwarded the email to my legal folder and made dinner. Rice, chicken, vegetables. Simple food. My food. That night, I sat by the window and looked out at the quiet street below. A few cars passed. Streetlights flickered on as the sun set. I thought about the text that had started everything. The one that had arrived at 6:47 a.m. while I was tying my work boots. I thought about the choice she'd made. The choice they'd all made. And I thought about the life I was building now. Small, quiet mine. No debt. No drama. No one taking from me while pretending it was love. Somewhere across the state, they were figuring out what life looked like without someone footing the bill. Justin working 2 jobs. Annabelle couch surfing. My ex at a call center, probably wondering how it all fell apart so fast. Dennis, wherever he was, had proven exactly who he'd always been. And me? I was exactly where I needed to be. Free. For months after I'd left, I was sitting in the break room at Bishop Manufacturing when my phone buzzed with an unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Hello. Is this you? A woman's voice. Not my ex-wife. Older, tired. Who's asking? It's Shirley, your wife's sister. I set down my coffee. What do you need? I need you to know what you did, she said. Her voice had an edge to it, sharp and accusing. They're falling apart. My sister's working 60 hours a week at that call center and can barely afford groceries. The kids are struggling. Justin had to drop out of his certification program because he couldn't pay for it while helping with rent. Annabelle's sleeping on friends' couches because they can't afford a 2-bedroom. I let her finish. You done? I asked. Don't you care? I cared for 8 years, I said. Paid for everything. Took extra shifts. Covered emergencies. Signed my name on leases and loans and bills. And the second they decided they wanted their biological father instead of me, I became disposable. So no, Shirley, I don't care anymore. She made a mistake. She made a choice. There's a difference. Dennis won't even talk to them, Shirley continued. He blocked their numbers. Won't return emails. Justin tried showing up at his work and security escorted him out. That man is a coward. I agree, I said. But that's not my problem. They wanted him. They got exactly who he is. You're punishing them. I'm not punishing anyone. I'm just not saving them anymore. She was quiet for a moment. I heard her breathing on the other end, trying to compose herself. My sister cries every night, Shirley finally said. She knows she messed up. She's sorry. Then she can live with that. You're cold. I'm clear, I corrected. I spent 8 years being warm, accommodating, and generous. It got me a text message uninviting me from a vacation I paid for. So yeah, I'm done being warm. Shirley hung up without another word. I finished my coffee and went back to work. That night, I got an email. Not from my ex-wife. From Annabelle. The subject line was, "I'm sorry." I opened it. I know you probably won't read this. It started. But I need to say it anyway. I was stupid. I got caught up in the idea of having my dad around. He'd been gone so long, and when he showed up at graduation, it felt like maybe things could be different. Like maybe he'd changed. He hadn't. He left again 2 days after we got back. Told Mom he had work commitments and just vanished. His phone's disconnected now. We can't reach him. It's like he was never there. Justin and I have talked a lot about what happened. We both realize now what you did for us. The stuff you paid for. The stability you gave us. We took it for granted because it was always just there. We didn't understand that you were the reason it was there. Mom's a mess. She won't admit it, but I know she regrets everything. She thought having Dennis on that trip would make us happy. She didn't think you'd actually leave. None of us did. I'm not asking you to come back. I know that's not going to happen. But I wanted you to know that we understand now. We understand what we lost. I read it 3 times. Then I wrote back, Annabelle, I appreciate you writing this. I do. But understanding what you lost doesn't change the fact that you were willing to lose it in the first place. You're 22. Justin's 24. You're both old enough to have known better. Your mom definitely knew better. I gave 8 years. I didn't do it expecting gratitude, but I also didn't do it expecting to be replaced the moment someone more authentic showed up. You wanted your biological father. You chose him. And when he disappeared again, just like he did when you were kids, you learned who he actually is. That's a hard lesson, but it's one you needed to learn. I'm not angry anymore. I'm just done. I hope you figure things out. I hope Justin finishes his program eventually. I hope your mom finds stability. But I won't be part of that process. Take care of yourself. I hit send and closed my laptop. 2 weeks later, the divorce was finalized. Ian sent me the documents via email. I signed them digitally and sent them back. No ceremony, no drama. Just paperwork that made official what had already been true for months. That weekend, I drove out to a state park about an hour from Riverside. Walked one of the trails, sat by a lake, watched the water move in the wind. I thought about the person I'd been 4 months ago. The guy tying his work boots at 6:47 a.m., opening a text that would change everything. I thought about the apartment I'd left behind, the bills I'd stopped paying, the family that had never really been mine. And I thought about the life I had now. Small, quiet, uncomplicated. A job I didn't hate. A town where nobody knew my history. A bank account that only I had access to. I wasn't bitter. I wasn't angry. I was just free. A month after the divorce finalized, I ran into Randy from work at the hardware store below my room. He was buying paint supplies for his garage. You settling in all right? He asked. Yeah, I said. Better than all right, actually. He nodded. Good. You seem different than when you first got here. Lighter. I am. He didn't ask why. Just clapped me on the shoulder and went back to comparing paint colors. That night, I deleted every photo I had of my old life. The apartment, the trips we'd taken, the family dinners where I'd smiled for the camera while feeling like an outsider. All of it gone. I kept one thing. A screenshot of that first text. The one that had arrived at 6:47 a.m. Plans changed. You're staying home. The kids want their biological father on the Europe trip. I kept it as a reminder. Not of what I'd lost, but of what I'd gained by walking away. Dignity. Peace. A life that belonged to me. 6 months in Riverside turned into a year. I got a small raise at Bishop. Started going to a local diner on Friday nights where the waitress knew my order. Bought a used truck that ran well enough. I didn't date. Wasn't ready. Maybe wouldn't be for a while. But I was okay with that. I'd spent 8 years building a foundation for people who saw me as temporary. Now I was building something permanent. Just for me. And that was enough.